The unexpected encounter. The sleek private lounge at Los Angeles International Airport exuded an air of luxury and exclusivity. Business magnates, celebrities, and politicians lounged on Italian leather chairs, sipping imported coffee and chatting over murmured deals. Among them sat Donovan King, a man who neither flaunted his wealth nor sought attention. Donovan, a tech visionary and billionaire entrepreneur, was dressed in a sharp but understated gray suit. His demeanor was calm, almost meditative, as he reviewed projections on his tablet. Donovan was en route to Tokyo for a pivotal business meeting, a deal that could redefine the logistics industry. The airline had assured him the best experience, offering a first-class seat with all the amenities expected of a luxury flight. However, as he walked to the boarding gate, something unusual caught his attention. A flight attendant, visibly agitated, was speaking sternly to a couple who seemed confused but compliant. Donovan didn't give it much thought, attributing it to routine travel tensions. As he approached the gate, Donovan scanned his boarding pass and stepped onto the jet bridge. He greeted the staff politely and found his seat -1A, a private suite with a fully reclining bed and a personal entertainment system. Donovan barely had time to settle in before he was approached by Jenna, the same flight attendant he'd noticed earlier. She was young, with sharp features and an air of authority, though her energy seemed off, a mix of frustration and impatience. "Sir, I need you to stow your bag in the overhead compartment," Jenna instructed, her tone curt. Donovan looked up, momentarily puzzled. "My bag fits securely under the seat. Is there an issue?" he asked evenly. "It's company policy," Jenna replied, her voice sharper now. "All carry-ons must be stowed above during takeoff." Donovan complied without argument, lifting his leather briefcase and placing it in the overhead bin. "There you go," he said with a faint smile, hoping to ease the tension. But Jenna's demeanor didn't soften. "And sir, please turn off your tablet. All devices must be powered down now." Donovan nodded, pressing the power button. He didn't think twice about her strictness until she leaned closer. "I'll need to see you power it down completely," she said, her tone bordering on condescension. He held up the tablet, showing her the screen as it went dark. "Is this satisfactory?" he asked, maintaining his calm. Jenna crossed her arms and scrutinized him for a moment before walking away without a word. Donovan's brow furrowed, but he dismissed the interaction as a product of her bad day. He adjusted his seat, ready to immerse himself in the long flight ahead. Minutes before takeoff, Jenna returned, this time with a more forceful attitude. "Sir, we've received complaints about your behavior. I'm going to have to ask you to deplane." Donovan blinked, stunned. "Complaints? From whom?" "I've done nothing but follow your instructions." "Sir, I won't argue with you. Please gather your belongings and exit the aircraft immediately," Jenna said, her voice cutting through the hushed murmurs of other passengers. He stared at her, his mind racing. "You're serious?" "Very serious," she replied, signaling to another attendant for backup. Donovan glanced around. Other passengers avoided eye contact, their discomfort palpable. With a deep breath, he stood, retrieving his bag from the overhead bin. He didn't argue further. It wasn't his style to cause a scene. As he walked down the aisle, he could feel eyes on him, some curious, others judgmental. Standing in the terminal, Donovan was more bewildered than angry. For a man accustomed to solving complex problems, this situation felt unnecessarily absurd. He paced, pulling out his phone to contact his assistant, Marissa. "Marissa," he said when she answered, "I've been removed from the flight. I need you to book another one immediately." "What happened?" she asked, her concern evident. "I'm not entirely sure," Donovan admitted. "The flight attendant claimed there were complaints, but no one approached me." Marissa promised to get him rebooked and hung up. But as Donovan stood there, a nagging feeling grew. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a blatant misuse of authority. He wasn't one to let such incidents slide. In a private conference room at the airport, Donovan made a decision that would alter the course of the airline's history. He called his lawyer, Mitchell Grant, a sharp, no-nonsense professional who had handled everything from acquisitions to intellectual property cases for Donovan. "Mitchell," Donovan began, "I need your help. I've just been removed from a flight without cause." "Removed? From a first-class seat? That's unheard of," Mitchell replied. "What do you want to do?" Donovan's voice was calm but resolute. "I want to send a message. Find out who owns this airline, and start exploring options for acquisition. I'm done letting people like that dictate terms." Mitchell paused, taken aback. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Donovan replied. "This isn't about revenge. It's about principle. I want to set an example." Mitchell agreed to get started immediately, his voice tinged with excitement. "I'll call you in an hour with an update." As Donovan ended the call, he felt a shift in his perspective. This wasn't just about reclaiming his dignity. It was an opportunity to redefine an industry notorious for poor customer service and outdated practices. He wasn't just buying an airline. He was rewriting its story. As the sun set over the city, Donovan sat in a private lounge, sipping a glass of water and reviewing potential strategies on his laptop. He had already received initial reports from Mitchell. The airline's parent company was publicly traded, its shares fragmented among institutional investors and private equity firms. It wasn't an insurmountable challenge for someone with Donovan's resources. Within minutes, Donovan had made a series of calls, activating his network of financiers and strategists. The goal was clear. By the next morning, he would own a controlling stake in the airline. For Donovan King, being kicked off a plane wasn't the end of the story. It was merely the beginning. The first move. Donovan sat in his sprawling corner office in downtown Los Angeles, a floor-to-ceiling window offering an uninterrupted view of the bustling city below. The previous night's events still lingered in his mind. It wasn't anger that fueled him. It was principle. He had spent years building a reputation not just as a visionary, but as someone who believed in fairness and accountability. The incident on the plane was a stark reminder that even the smallest slights could have far-reaching implications. His phone buzzed. Mitchell Grant, his trusted lawyer, was on the line. "I've got the breakdown," Mitchell began without preamble. "The airline is part of a larger conglomerate, Skylux Group. They own multiple subsidiaries, but the airline accounts for about 40% of their revenue." Donovan leaned back in his chair, his mind already racing. "And the board? Who holds the real power?" "There are three key players," Mitchell continued. "The CEO, Gregory Stanton, has been with the company for over a decade. Then there's Patricia Lorne, the CFO, known for her aggressive cost-cutting strategies, and Henry Vail, the chairman of the board. Between them, they control about 25% of the company's shares." "And the rest?" Donovan asked, his tone sharp. "Fragmented," Mitchell replied. "Institutional investors, smaller shareholders, and a few private stakeholders. Nothing consolidated enough to block an acquisition if you act fast." Donovan smirked. "Good. Start buying. Quietly. I want a controlling stake before anyone realizes what's happening." Activating the network. Over the next few hours, Donovan's team sprang into action. Marissa, his assistant, coordinated meetings and calls with a precision that reflected the urgency of the situation. Financial analysts from Donovan's investment firm worked around the clock, poring over Skylux Group's financials, identifying weak points in their structure. Meanwhile, Mitchell reached out to trusted intermediaries to begin acquiring shares discreetly. By the end of the day, Donovan owned 5% of the airline's shares, a small but significant start. The acquisitions were made through shell companies and private transactions, ensuring that his name stayed out of the headlines for now. The media frenzy. What Donovan hadn't anticipated was the media's growing interest in the story. By the next morning, news outlets were buzzing with reports about the mysterious billionaire who had been removed from a flight under questionable circumstances. Social media erupted with debates about customer service in the airline industry, with hashtags like #FlightFail and #CustomerRights trending worldwide. One clip in particular went viral. A passenger had recorded the interaction between Donovan and Jenna. The video showed Donovan calmly complying with Jenna's increasingly unreasonable demands, followed by her abrupt decision to have him removed. The comments were a mix of outrage and disbelief. "This guy handled it better than I would have. Power trip much. Fire that flight attendant. Wait until she finds out who he really is." Donovan's name wasn't mentioned in the video, but it was only a matter of time before someone connected the dots. He knew he had to move quickly. The turning point. Later that afternoon, Donovan met with Mitchell and his core team in a private conference room. A large screen displayed charts and graphs detailing Skylux Group's stock performance and shareholder distribution. "We've secured 12%, Mitchell announced, his voice steady but energized. "But we're starting to draw attention. The board will notice soon." Donovan nodded, his expression calm. "Good. Let them notice. I want them to know that change is coming." "What's the strategy once they do?" Marissa asked, her notepad ready. "We go public," Donovan replied. "I'll issue a statement outlining my intentions. This isn't just about acquiring an airline. It's about setting a new standard. The industry has been stagnant for too long. Poor customer service, outdated policies, employees under unnecessary stress. It's time for a shake-up." Mitchell raised an eyebrow. "You're sure about going public? It'll put a target on your back." "I'm counting on it," Donovan said with a faint smile. "The more they fight, the stronger our position becomes." The confrontation. As Donovan's team worked behind the scenes, the board of Skylux Group convened an emergency meeting. Gregory Stanton, the CEO, was visibly agitated as he paced the room. "Who the hell does this guy think he is?" Stanton demanded, slamming a printout of the recent stock purchases onto the table. "We've got a hostile takeover brewing, and we don't even know who's behind it." Patricia Lorne, the CFO, adjusted her glasses and examined the data. "Whoever it is, they're well-funded and methodical. This isn't some amateur move. They've been acquiring shares strategically, and from what I can see, they're targeting us specifically." Henry Vail, the chairman, leaned back in his chair, his expression calm but calculating. "We need to identify the buyer and assess their intentions. If it's a competitor, this could get ugly fast." Stanton nodded, his frustration barely contained. "Find out who it is, and prepare for a fight. We're not letting this company fall into the hands of some outsider." Donovan's announcement. The next morning, Donovan released a statement through his PR team. It was concise but powerful. "The recent incident on Skylux Airlines highlights a broader issue in the aviation industry, an urgent need for accountability and innovation. I am committed to creating an airline that prioritizes both its customers and employees. This isn't just a business move, it's a mission to redefine what air travel can and should be." The statement made headlines immediately. News anchors debated Donovan's motives, while industry analysts speculated on his endgame. For Donovan, it was all part of the plan. The more attention the story garnered, the more pressure it put on Skylux Group's board. The public reaction. Passengers, employees, and industry insiders began to weigh in. Former Skylux employees shared horror stories of poor management and toxic work environments. Current employees, speaking anonymously, expressed their support for Donovan's vision. Jenna, the flight attendant who had started it all, found herself at the center of a media firestorm. While some defended her actions as a product of stress and strict policies, others criticized her for overstepping her authority. For Donovan, the public reaction was validation. His vision wasn't just about ownership, it was about transformation. The board's dilemma. By the end of the week, Donovan had secured 25% of Skylux Group's shares, enough to demand a seat at the table. The board, now fully aware of his intentions, was divided. Some members saw the potential in his vision and were open to negotiation. Others, like Stanton, were determined to block him at all costs. But Donovan wasn't worried. He had faced resistance before, and he thrived under pressure. This was just the beginning of a battle that would reshape the airline industry, and it was a battle he was ready to win. The storm breaks. The Skylux Group's boardroom was a fortress of polished oak and steel, designed to exude strength and authority. But on this day, its usual air of confidence was replaced by palpable tension. Gregory Stanton, the CEO, was livid. Reports of Donovan King's aggressive acquisition strategy had reached him, and the billionaire's recent public statement only fueled the fire. 25%, Stanton growled, slamming his fist on the table. He's a step away from controlling interest. We cannot let this happen. Patricia Lorne, the CFO, remained calm, scrolling through her tablet. He's not just buying shares. He's buying public favor. Look at these headlines. Billionaire visionary takes on stagnant airline industry. Donovan King's mission to revolutionize air travel. This isn't just a hostile takeover. It's a PR campaign. Henry Vail, the chairman, leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. We need to move carefully. If we come off as defensive or reactionary, we'll play right into his hands. Donovan's gambit. In his Los Angeles office, Donovan was 3 steps ahead. His team had finalized the next phase of the plan, securing key allies within the airline's largest shareholder groups. Mitchell Grant had already set up meetings with representatives from institutional investors. These are the kingmakers, Mitchell explained. If we get them on our side, we can push for a vote to replace the board. But it's going to take more than money. They'll need to believe in your vision. Donovan smiled, his confidence unshaken. That's why I'm going to meet them myself. Let them see who they're dealing with. Over the next few days, Donovan embarked on a whirlwind of private meetings. He outlined his vision for a reimagined airline, one that prioritized innovation, sustainability, and customer experience. He presented data-driven plans for revamping outdated systems, investing in employee training, and implementing green initiatives. But it wasn't just the numbers that won people over. It was Donovan's passion. He spoke with conviction, not as a corporate raider, but as a leader who genuinely believed in creating something better. The media battle. As Donovan gained traction with investors, Skylux Group launched a counteroffensive. Stanton hired a high-profile PR firm to spin the narrative in their favor. Press releases painted Donovan as an opportunist, accusing him of exploiting a minor incident for personal gain. Mr. King's actions are disruptive and self-serving, one statement read. Skylux Group has always been committed to excellence in aviation, and we will not allow an outsider to destabilize our operations. The narrative gained some traction, with certain outlets questioning Donovan's motives. But Donovan wasn't fazed. He took to social media, sharing his plans directly with the public. "This isn't about me," he tweeted. "It's about the millions of passengers who deserve better. It's about the employees who work tirelessly under poor conditions. Change is coming." The tweet went viral, sparking a flood of support. Passengers shared their own horror stories about Skylux Airlines, lost luggage, delayed flights, rude staff, while employees voiced their frustrations anonymously. The employee uprising. Inside the airline, the mood was shifting. Jenna, the flight attendant at the center of the controversy, found herself under scrutiny from both the media and her colleagues. Some supported her, blaming the airline's rigid policies for putting staff under undue stress. Others saw her as a symbol of the company's flaws: arrogance, poor training, and a lack of accountability. Morale among employees plummeted. In break rooms and staff lounges, whispers of Donovan's vision spread like wildfire. Many began to wonder if his takeover could be their chance for better working conditions. One group of employees decided to take action. Led by veteran pilot Captain Raymond Delgado, they organized a petition calling for the board to engage with Donovan. The petition quickly gained traction, with hundreds of signatures from pilots, flight attendants, and ground staff. The board's resistance. The petition reached the board within days, adding to the mounting pressure. Stanton dismissed it as a publicity stunt. "Employees don't understand the complexities of running a company like this," he argued. "We can't let them dictate our decisions." But Patricia Lorne saw the writing on the wall. "We can't ignore this, Gregory. If Donovan gets the employees on his side, we're finished. Public opinion is already leaning in his favor." Henry Vail nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps it's time to consider engaging with him. A compromise might be better than a drawn-out battle." Stanton was furious. "Compromise? With a man who wants to dismantle everything we've built? Over my dead body." Donovan's decisive move. As the board squabbled, Donovan made his next move. A public town hall streamed online. Standing on a minimalist stage, he addressed employees, passengers, and investors directly. "I know change is scary," Donovan began, his voice steady and sincere. "But it's also necessary. For too long, this industry has been stuck in the past, focusing on profits at the expense of people. That's not how I do business." He outlined his plans in detail: improved employee benefits, investments in cutting-edge technology, and a commitment to transparency. He also announced the creation of a passenger advisory board, giving customers a direct voice in the airline's operations. The response was overwhelming. Social media lit up with support, and the town hall was viewed millions of times within hours. The breaking point. Skylux Group's board was now in full crisis mode. Share prices fluctuated as investors speculated on the outcome of Donovan's takeover bid. Employees began staging small walkouts, demanding the board meet with him. Stanton's refusal to engage only deepened the divide. "If we give in now, we lose control forever," he insisted. But even his staunchest allies began to waver. Behind closed doors, a faction of the board approached Donovan's team, signaling their willingness to negotiate. Mitchell relayed the news to Donovan. "They're cracking," Mitchell said. "We've got them cornered." Donovan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good, but I'm not interested in half measures. I want the whole board to step down." The ultimatum. At an emergency meeting, Donovan issued his ultimatum. The board had 48 hours to accept his terms or face a shareholder vote to replace them. The terms were clear: full control of the airline, with Donovan as the new chairman and CEO. The board was stunned. Stanton, red-faced and seething, accused Donovan of corporate extortion. But Patricia Lorne, pragmatic as ever, saw no other option. "We've lost the public, the employees, and the investors," she said. "If we fight this, we'll only make it worse." Henry Vail reluctantly agreed. "We've done all we can. It's time to step aside." The dawn of change. 48 hours later, the board announced their resignation, handing full control of the airline to Donovan King. The news made headlines around the globe, hailed as a victory for innovation and accountability. But for Donovan, the real work was just beginning. Standing in the airline's headquarters, he addressed his new employees. "This isn't just my airline," he told them. "It's ours. Together, we're going to build something extraordinary." The room erupted in applause, a wave of hope sweeping through the crowd. For the first time in years, they believed in their future. And Donovan, he was just getting started. Building an empire, Donovan King stepped into the Skylux Group headquarters, now officially his domain. The building, with its gleaming glass exterior and towering height, symbolized decades of aviation dominance. But Donovan didn't see it as a symbol of success. To him, it was a monument to stagnation and complacency, built on outdated ideas that no longer served the modern world. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Employees hustled through the hallways, unsure of what to expect from their new leader. Donovan wasn't known for being conventional. His reputation was one of disruption, transformation, and relentless innovation. The first address. Donovan wasted no time addressing his employees. The auditorium, filled to capacity with curious staff, buzzed with nervous energy. Hundreds of eyes followed him as he strode onto the stage. Dressed simply in a dark blazer and white shirt, He exuded calm confidence. "Good morning," Donovan began, his voice steady and deliberate. "I know there's been a lot of uncertainty about what's happening, and I want to start by acknowledging that change is never easy." He paused, scanning the room. "But here's the truth. Skylux Airlines was dying. Not because of its employees. You've all been doing your best with the tools you were given. But the leadership failed you. They failed to innovate, to listen, to adapt. That's why I'm here, to build something better." The crowd was silent, hanging on his every word. Donovan continued, laying out his vision for the company's future. "From today forward, we're rewriting the rules. Every decision we make will be guided by 3 principles: innovation, integrity, and people. That means better tools for you, better service for our passengers, and a company culture where everyone feels valued." He ended his speech with a challenge. "I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I'm asking you to watch what I do. Let my actions speak for themselves. Together, we're going to transform this airline into something the world has never seen before." The room erupted into applause. For the first time in years, the employees felt a sense of hope and purpose. Cleaning house. Donovan's first major move was restructuring the leadership team. The previous board members had resigned, but the company was still riddled with middle managers who perpetuated the same toxic culture. Donovan brought in an external consulting firm to conduct a thorough review of the management structure. Within weeks, several high-ranking executives were let go, replaced by forward-thinking leaders who shared Donovan's vision. Among them was Evelyn Porter, a former Navy logistics officer turned operations expert. She was known for her no-nonsense approach and her ability to streamline even the most chaotic systems. "I need someone who can untangle this mess," Donovan told her during their first meeting. "The airline is bleeding money on inefficiencies. Can you fix it?" Evelyn smirked. "Give me 3 months." The employee revolution. One of Donovan's most radical initiatives was the creation of an employee council, a group of representatives from all levels of the company who would meet regularly to provide feedback and propose solutions. For the first time, flight attendants, mechanics, pilots, and ground crew had a direct line to the CEO. Jenna, the flight attendant whose confrontation with Donovan had sparked the takeover, watched the changes unfold with a mix of awe and unease. She had been summoned to a private meeting with Donovan shortly after he assumed control. When she entered his office, she was visibly nervous. Donovan, seated behind a sleek wooden desk, greeted her with a calm smile. "Jenna," he began, "I imagine this has been a difficult time for you." She nodded, unsure of what to say. "I'm not here to punish you," Donovan continued. "But I need you to understand something. What happened between us wasn't just about a bad day or a misunderstanding. It was a symptom of a deeper problem. A culture that doesn't give employees the support they need to succeed." Jenna blinked, taken aback. She had expected anger, maybe even retribution. Instead, Donovan spoke to her like an equal. "I want to fix this," he said. "But I need people like you to help me. You've been on the front lines. You know the challenges better than anyone. Are you willing to be part of the solution?" Jenna hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I am." Revolutionizing the passenger experience. While Donovan worked to transform the company from within, he also turned his attention to the passengers. Surveys were conducted to gather feedback on what customers wanted most. The results were clear: better communication, more comfort, and an end to hidden fees. Donovan's team launched a series of initiatives to address these concerns. Transparent pricing. A new pricing model eliminated hidden fees, offering passengers clear and upfront costs. Technology upgrades. The airline's outdated booking system was replaced with a cutting-edge platform that made it easier for passengers to book, change, or cancel flights. Comfort redefined. Economy class cabins were redesigned with ergonomic seating, increased legroom, and better in-flight entertainment options. Sustainability goals. Donovan partnered with green energy companies to begin transitioning the fleet to more fuel-efficient aircraft, reducing the airline's carbon footprint. Each change was publicized through social media campaigns, emphasizing the airline's commitment to transparency and customer satisfaction. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Passengers who had sworn off Skylux began returning, curious to see if the promises matched the reality. Winning over the skeptics. Despite the progress, not everyone was convinced. Industry analysts doubted whether Donovan's ambitious plans were sustainable. Competitors launched aggressive marketing campaigns, aiming to poach Skylux's customers during the transition. But Donovan wasn't fazed. He knew the key to winning over skeptics was results. Within 3 months, the airline's on-time performance improved by 15%. Customer satisfaction ratings soared, and employee turnover dropped significantly. One moment stood out as a turning point. A high-profile businesswoman who had previously criticized the airline publicly tweeted her experience on a newly revamped Skylux flight. "Color me impressed," she wrote. "Skylux Airlines just raised the bar for the entire industry. Well done, at Donovan." The tweet went viral, bringing even more attention to the airline's transformation. A new era. As the months went by, Donovan's vision began to take shape. Skylux Airlines was no longer the company it had been, a relic of an industry resistant to change. It was now a symbol of innovation and resilience. In a final symbolic move, Donovan announced the rebranding of the airline. The name Skylux would be retired, replaced with Ascend Air, reflecting the company's new mission to elevate the travel experience. Standing in front of a crowd of employees, investors, and reporters at the unveiling ceremony, Donovan spoke with the same conviction that had carried him through every challenge. "This isn't just an airline," he said. "It's a movement toward fairness, innovation, and excellence. Ascend Air represents the future, and I'm proud to stand here with all of you as we make history." The crowd erupted into applause, a standing ovation that echoed through the room. Donovan had done more than just buy an airline. He had created a legacy. The challenges of change. Donovan King sat in the executive suite of Ascend Air's newly branded headquarters, his gaze fixed on the horizon, where the city skyline melted into a crimson sunset. The rebranding had been a resounding success, with Ascend Air becoming a household name seemingly overnight. But as the initial euphoria began to wane, Donovan knew that real success wouldn't be measured in headlines or applause. It would be measured in the airline's ability to sustain its transformation under the weight of everyday operations. The resistance within. While many employees embraced the changes Donovan had introduced, others struggled to adapt. Some saw his reforms as idealistic and overly ambitious. Resistance bubbled beneath the surface, particularly among long-standing managers who had grown comfortable with the old ways of doing things. In one such instance, Donovan received an anonymous tip about a regional manager who was deliberately slowing down the implementation of new employee training programs. The manager, a veteran of the airline, had been vocal in his skepticism of Donovan's vision and was now subtly sabotaging the efforts. Donovan didn't confront the manager immediately. Instead, he tasked Evelyn Porter, the COO, with investigating further. Evelyn, ever efficient, uncovered evidence of the manager's actions within days. At the next leadership meeting, Donovan addressed the issue directly. "I know change is hard," he said, his voice calm but firm. "But let me make one thing clear. Resistance to improvement has no place here. If you can't align with our mission, then you're free to leave. We're building something better, not just for our passengers, but for ourselves." The message was unmistakable. By the end of the week, the manager had resigned, and Donovan promoted a younger, more dynamic leader in his place. The competitors strike back. As Ascend Air gained traction, the competition began to feel the heat. Rival airlines launched aggressive campaigns aimed at undermining Ascend Air's progress. One airline even released an ad mocking the idea of luxury for everyone, implying that Donovan's vision was unsustainable. Donovan's response was swift and unexpected. Instead of engaging in a media battle, He invited the CEOs of rival airlines to a public roundtable discussion on the future of the aviation industry. The event, streamed live, highlighted the inefficiencies and customer frustrations plaguing the industry as a whole. "We're not just competitors," Donovan said during the discussion. "We're custodians of an industry that millions of people depend on. If we don't innovate together, we all lose." The move was a masterstroke. It painted Donovan as a visionary leader focused on collective progress rather than petty rivalries. Public opinion shifted even further in his favor, and Ascend Air's bookings surged. The tech gamble. Donovan's next big initiative was the introduction of cutting-edge technology to streamline operations and enhance the passenger experience. He partnered with a Silicon Valley startup to develop an AI-powered system for managing flight schedules, optimizing routes, and predicting maintenance needs. The system, dubbed SkyLogic, promised to reduce delays, cut fuel consumption, and improve safety. But implementing it across Ascend Air's entire fleet was a monumental task. It required retraining pilots, ground staff, and even air traffic controllers in some cases. The rollout wasn't without hiccups. In one instance, a glitch in the system caused a flight to be canceled, stranding hundreds of passengers. The media pounced on the story, framing it as evidence that Donovan's high-tech ambitions were impractical. Donovan didn't shy away from the criticism. He issued a public apology, personally compensating the affected passengers with free flights and additional perks. Behind the scenes, his team worked tirelessly to fix the glitch and refine the system. A few weeks later, SkyLogic began delivering results. Delays dropped by 20%, fuel efficiency improved, and pilots reported that the system made their jobs easier. The initial backlash faded, replaced by praise for Ascend Air's commitment to innovation. The Jenna Initiative. One of Donovan's most controversial moves was the introduction of the Jenna Initiative, named after the flight attendant whose actions had sparked his takeover. The program was designed to provide frontline employees with better tools, training, and support to handle high-pressure situations. As part of the initiative, Donovan personally invited Jenna to participate in its development. Initially hesitant, she eventually agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to redeem herself and contribute to meaningful change. The initiative included conflict resolution training. Employees were taught de-escalation techniques and how to manage difficult passengers with empathy and professionalism. Mental health resources. Ascend Air partnered with wellness organizations to offer free counseling and stress management programs for employees. Feedback channels. A new app allowed employees to submit anonymous feedback directly to upper management, ensuring their voices were heard. Jenna, now a key advocate for the program, became a symbol of Ascend Air's transformation. Her story of growth and redemption resonated with employees and passengers alike. Weathering the storm. Just as things began to stabilize, a major challenge loomed on the horizon. A severe winter storm that paralyzed much of the country. Airports were shut down, flights were grounded, and thousands of passengers were stranded. While rival airlines struggled to manage the chaos, Ascend Air's new systems and protocols were put to the ultimate test. The AI-powered SkyLogic system rerouted flights and minimized disruptions, while the Employee Council coordinated efforts to assist stranded passengers. Donovan himself visited the airline's operations center, working alongside staff to ensure smooth communication. His presence inspired employees, who went above and beyond to accommodate passengers, even setting up makeshift lounges with free food and blankets. By the time the storm passed, Ascend Air had emerged as the clear leader in crisis management. Passengers flooded social media with praise for the airline's professionalism and care. A moment of reflection. One evening, after the storm had cleared and operations returned to normal, Donovan found himself alone in his office. He looked out at the city lights, reflecting on how far they had come. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Evelyn Porter. "Thought you'd still be here," she said, setting down 2 cups of coffee. "You should go home. Get some rest." Donovan chuckled. "I'll rest when I'm done." Evelyn sat across from him, studying his face. "You've done something incredible, Donovan. But you know this isn't the finish line, right?" "I do," he said, nodding. "This is just the beginning. The real challenge is making sure it lasts." Evelyn raised her coffee cup in a toast. "To the challenge, then." "To the challenge," Donovan echoed, clinking his cup against hers. As they sat in the quiet office, Donovan felt a rare moment of peace. Ascendair was no longer just a dream. It was a reality. But as Evelyn had said, the journey was far from over. There were still battles to fight, mountains to climb, and a legacy to cement. And Donovan King wouldn't have it any other way. Scaling the heights. The weeks following the storm solidified Ascendair's reputation as the most customer-centric airline in the industry. Passengers who had previously written off the airline began booking again, lured by stories of unparalleled service, real-time updates, and empathetic employees. For Donovan, these victories were proof of concept, but he knew they were just stepping stones, redefining the business model. Donovan's next move was to tackle one of the aviation industry's most polarizing issues: ticket pricing. Airlines were notorious for opaque pricing models, with hidden fees that frustrated customers and eroded trust. Donovan decided to dismantle this system entirely. In a board meeting, he presented his vision for a transparent pricing model. "Passengers deserve to know exactly what they're paying for," he said, pacing the room. "No more hidden baggage fees, no extra charges for seat selection. One price, all inclusive." The proposal faced immediate resistance from some executives, who argued that unbundling services was a significant revenue stream. But Donovan was unwavering. "Short-term profits mean nothing if we lose our customers' trust," he countered. "A loyal customer is worth far more than a one-time fee." The pricing overhaul launched 6 weeks later, accompanied by a bold marketing campaign. "What you see is what you pay." The response was overwhelmingly positive, with customers praising the simplicity and fairness of the new system. Employee empowerment takes center stage. The Employee Council, originally viewed with skepticism by some managers, quickly became one of Ascendair's most effective tools for internal innovation. Employees submitted ideas for improving operations, and many of these suggestions were implemented with immediate success. One standout idea came from a group of mechanics who proposed a streamlined maintenance process that reduced aircraft downtime by 30%. Donovan personally recognized the team in a company-wide meeting, reinforcing his commitment to empowering employees at every level. This recognition culture became a cornerstone of Ascendair's identity. Monthly Excellence Awards celebrated outstanding contributions, with winners receiving perks like additional paid leave, bonuses, and public acknowledgement. A rival's desperate move. As Ascendair soared, competitors became increasingly desperate. One rival airline, struggling to retain market share, attempted to discredit Donovan by leaking a series of emails purportedly showing internal struggles during Ascendair's early days of restructuring. The emails painted a picture of chaos and uncertainty, hoping to undermine public confidence. Donovan's response was swift and strategic. Instead of denying the allegations, he embraced them. At a press conference, he stood at a podium and addressed the situation head-on. "Were we perfect from day one?" "Absolutely not," Donovan admitted. "Change is messy, and building something great isn't easy. But those struggles are what made us stronger. We didn't shy away from challenges. We faced them. And today, those challenges are why Ascendair is leading the industry." His transparency resonated with the public, turning what could have been a PR disaster into yet another example of his authenticity. The rival airline's smear campaign backfired spectacularly, with many passengers switching to Ascendair out of admiration for Donovan's integrity. Global expansion. With its domestic operations thriving, Donovan turned his attention to international markets. Ascendair announced plans to expand its routes to Asia, Europe, and South America, positioning itself as a global leader in customer-focused aviation. To support this growth, Donovan negotiated a groundbreaking partnership with an aircraft manufacturer to develop a fleet of next-generation planes. These aircraft would feature innovative designs, including larger windows, quieter cabins, and state-of-the-art fuel efficiency. The announcement drew widespread attention, solidifying Ascend Air's reputation as a trailblazer. However, the expansion wasn't without risks. Scaling operations on a global level required meticulous planning, and any misstep could jeopardize the company's newfound success. Donovan assembled a task force to oversee the expansion, appointing Evelyn Porter as its leader. "This is our biggest challenge yet," he told her. "But if anyone can pull it off, it's you." Evelyn accepted the responsibility with her trademark determination. "We'll make it happen," she assured him. Jenna's new role. Jenna, once the flight attendant who had inadvertently sparked Donovan's takeover, had grown into a respected leader within the company. Her work on the Jenna initiative had earned her a promotion to Director of Employee Experience, a role that allowed her to champion the very values Donovan had instilled in the company. In her new role, Jenna worked tirelessly to ensure that employees felt supported and valued. She introduced mentorship programs, increased opportunities for advancement, and spearheaded initiatives to improve work-life balance. Donovan often sought her perspective on key decisions, appreciating her ability to bridge the gap between leadership and frontline staff. For Jenna, the journey had been transformative. She had gone from being a symbol of the airline's flaws to one of its greatest assets. The unexpected test. Just as Ascend Air's expansion plans were taking off, a cybersecurity breach threatened to derail everything. Hackers targeted the airline's new AI-powered systems, attempting to disrupt operations and steal sensitive passenger data. Donovan convened an emergency meeting, bringing in top cybersecurity experts to contain the breach. "This is a test of everything we've built," he told his team, "and we will not fail." The team worked around the clock to secure the systems, implementing new safeguards to prevent future attacks. Donovan personally addressed affected passengers, offering transparent updates and additional protections. The crisis was resolved within days, and Ascend Air's swift response earned praise for its professionalism and accountability. Donovan viewed the incident as a wake-up call, investing heavily in cybersecurity to ensure the airline remained a leader in technological innovation. A legacy in the making. As the dust settled, Donovan took a moment to reflect on how far Ascend Air had come. The airline was no longer just a company. It was a movement, a symbol of what was possible when vision and determination met opportunity. In the company's annual report, Donovan included a personal note. "Ascend Air is more than an airline. It's a testament to the power of change, the importance of listening, and the value of people. To our passengers, thank you for trusting us. To our employees, thank you for inspiring us. Together, we are rewriting the rules of aviation, and we're just getting started." The report went viral, sparking conversations about leadership, innovation, and the future of air travel. Donovan's name became synonymous with transformation, and Ascend Air stood as a beacon of hope in an industry once plagued by mediocrity. But for Donovan, the journey was far from over. His sights were already set on the next challenge, the next opportunity to push boundaries and create something extraordinary. Because for him, the sky was never the limit, it was just the beginning. Reaching new horizons. Months after Ascend Air's remarkable transformation, Donovan King found himself on the global stage. The airline wasn't just a regional success, it was an international phenomenon. Lauded for its customer service, cutting-edge technology, and employee-first culture, Donovan's vision had turned what was once a struggling airline into an industry leader. But as Ascend Air climbed higher, so did the challenges. A bold vision for sustainability. Donovan had always been a forward thinker, and as Ascend Air solidified its global presence, he turned his focus to sustainability. The aviation industry was one of the largest contributors to carbon emissions, and Donovan knew that if Ascend Air was to lead, it needed to address this head-on. In a televised address broadcast across multiple countries, Donovan unveiled his next big initiative, Project Ascend Green. Climate change is not just an abstract concept, it's a reality that affects us all. Donovan said, standing in front of a prototype of Ascendair's first eco-friendly plane. As leaders in the aviation industry, we have a responsibility to innovate not just for profit, but for the planet. Project Ascend Green aimed to introduce hybrid aircraft. Ascendair partnered with leading aerospace engineers to develop hybrid electric planes for short-haul routes, reducing emissions by up to 40%. Invest in sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. The airline committed to using SAF for 50% of its flights by 2030. Achieve carbon neutrality. Donovan announced that Ascendair would offset its remaining emissions through reforestation projects and investments in renewable energy. The initiative was ambitious, and critics were quick to voice skepticism. Industry insiders questioned the feasibility of scaling hybrid technology, while environmentalists accused Donovan of greenwashing. But Donovan remained undeterred. Ambition attracts resistance, he told Evelyn Porter during a strategy meeting. That's how you know you're doing something worthwhile. Navigating political turbulence. As Ascendair expanded into international markets, it faced a new challenge: navigating the complex web of global aviation regulations. In some countries, Donovan encountered resistance from government officials who viewed the airline's rapid growth as a threat to local carriers. In one particularly contentious case, Ascendair's application to operate routes in a major Asian market was delayed due to lobbying by a local competitor. The competitor accused Ascendair of unfair practices, claiming it was monopolizing passenger traffic with its innovative pricing and service. Rather than escalate the situation, Donovan chose diplomacy. He flew to the country and met with aviation authorities, presenting data on how Ascendair's entry would boost tourism and create jobs. He also proposed partnerships with local carriers to share resources and routes. The approach worked. Within weeks, Ascendair was granted access, and the local competitors' attempts to block them backfired, leading to public criticism of their anti-competitive tactics. The unexpected offer. As Ascendair's reputation grew, so did Donovan's influence. It wasn't long before he received an offer that took even him by surprise. A coalition of global airlines proposed a merger. The proposal was unprecedented. If accepted, it would create the largest airline group in history, with Donovan at the helm. The coalition promised shared resources, expanded routes, and unmatched market power. But Donovan was skeptical. This feels more like consolidation than innovation, he told Mitchell Grant during a private meeting. I didn't build Ascendair to be swallowed up by bureaucracy. Donovan spent weeks deliberating, consulting with advisors and industry experts. In the end, he turned the offer down. Ascendair isn't just a business, he announced in a press release. It's a symbol of what's possible when we prioritize people over profits. Joining a conglomerate would compromise that vision. The decision earned him widespread respect, reinforcing his reputation as a visionary leader who valued principles over profit. A personal challenge. While Donovan thrived professionally, his personal life became increasingly complex. The relentless demands of running Ascendair left little time for anything else. Friends and family often joked that the airline was his only relationship, but for Donovan, the joke hit close to home. One evening, as he worked late in his office, Jenna stopped by. Now a close advisor, she had become one of the few people who could speak candidly with him. You know, Donovan, she said, setting down a cup of coffee, even planes need downtime for maintenance. You're no different. Donovan chuckled, but Jenna's words stuck with him. That weekend, for the first time in months, he took a break. He visited a quiet coastal town, spending 2 days hiking, reading, and reflecting. The time away gave him clarity, not just about his work, but about the importance of balance. The next crisis. Just as Donovan began to regain his footing, a crisis emerged that threatened to unravel everything he had built. A whistleblower from Ascendair's IT department leaked documents suggesting that passenger data had been compromised during the earlier cybersecurity breach. While the leak revealed no malicious intent, the mere suggestion of a data breach sent shockwaves through the industry. Media outlets pounced on the story, with headlines like Ascend Air's transparency tested and Can Donovan King weather this storm? Critics who had long awaited Donovan's downfall seized the opportunity to question his leadership. Donovan faced the crisis head-on. He held a press conference, flanked by Evelyn Porter and the airline's chief technology officer. "The trust of our passengers is the foundation of Ascend Air," Donovan said. "We owe it to them to be transparent, and that's exactly what we're doing. While no sensitive data was exploited, we acknowledge the lapse and are taking immediate action to ensure it never happens again." Donovan announced a $50 million investment in cybersecurity, along with the creation of an independent oversight committee to monitor the airline's data practices. The measures reassured customers, and the crisis, while damaging, did not derail Ascend Air's momentum. A global recognition. Months later, Donovan stood on the stage of an international business summit, receiving the Global Visionary Award for his contributions to the aviation industry. The room was filled with leaders from across the world, but as Donovan accepted the award, he remained grounded. "This isn't about me," he said in his acceptance speech. "This is about the power of people, employees, passengers, and everyone who believed in a vision for something better. Ascend Air isn't just an airline. It's proof that change is possible, no matter how insurmountable it seems. A legacy cemented. By the end of the year, Ascend Air had achieved what many thought impossible. It became the first airline to be recognized as a certified global green business, a designation reserved for companies leading the way in sustainability. Its passenger satisfaction ratings were the highest in the industry, and its employee retention rates set a new standard. For Donovan King, the journey was far from over. As he looked toward the future, he envisioned a world where Ascend Air wasn't just a leader in aviation, but a model for all industries, a testament to what could be achieved with vision, integrity, and determination. And as he boarded one of Ascend Air's new hybrid electric planes for its maiden international flight, he smiled. The sky, after all, was just the beginning. Breaking new barriers. As the year progressed, Ascend Air's reputation as a transformative force in the aviation industry grew stronger. Yet for Donovan King, every new success brought fresh challenges and opportunities. He knew that true leadership wasn't about basking in past victories. It was about continuously pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Pioneering in-flight connectivity. One of Donovan's most ambitious projects was to revolutionize in-flight connectivity. Passengers had long complained about slow, unreliable internet on planes, and Donovan saw this as an opportunity to set Ascend Air apart. Partnering with a cutting-edge satellite company, he announced the Ascend Connect initiative, promising high-speed, uninterrupted internet on every flight. The technology leveraged low-orbit satellites to deliver speeds comparable to home broadband, even over remote oceans and deserts. The rollout wasn't without challenges. During a test flight, a glitch caused the system to crash mid-flight, sparking skepticism among critics. But Donovan refused to let setbacks derail the project. He personally worked with engineers to identify and resolve the issues, even joining test flights to experience the system firsthand. Within 6 months, Ascend Connect was fully operational, and the results were astounding. Passengers could stream movies, attend video conferences, and even play online games, all at no extra cost. The service became a defining feature of Ascend Air, further cementing its status as an industry leader. Empowering communities. Donovan's vision extended beyond the airline itself. He believed that Ascend Air had a responsibility to give back to the communities it served. Under his leadership, the company launched the Ascend Future Foundation, a global initiative aimed at supporting education, infrastructure, and sustainability projects in underserved regions. The foundation's first project focused on building eco-friendly schools in rural areas near Ascend Air's major hubs. These schools were powered by solar energy and equipped with modern technology, giving children access to quality education. Donovan personally visited one of these schools during its grand opening in Kenya. Addressing the students, he said, "The future of aviation and the world depends on young minds like yours. Our job is to make sure you have the tools and opportunities to reach your full potential. The Foundation's work garnered international acclaim, with other companies following Ascendair's lead in prioritizing social responsibility. Personal growth. Amid Ascendair's meteoric rise, Donovan faced a personal reckoning. For years, he had devoted himself entirely to his work, often at the expense of his personal life. But as he saw the impact of his efforts on employees, passengers, and communities, he began to reflect on what truly mattered. One evening, while reviewing plans for the next phase of Project Ascend Green, Donovan received an unexpected call from his sister, Clara. "You've built an empire, Don," she said, her voice warm. "But when's the last time you let yourself enjoy it?" The conversation stayed with him. For the first time in years, Donovan allowed himself to take a step back. He rekindled old friendships, spent time with family, and even took up hiking, a hobby he hadn't pursued since college. These moments of connection didn't just enrich his personal life, they also gave him fresh perspectives and renewed energy for his work. Preparing for the future. As Ascendair entered its next phase, Donovan began planning for the long-term sustainability of the company. He knew that true success wasn't about one person. It was about building a system that could thrive independently. To this end, he initiated a comprehensive leadership development program, identifying and mentoring the next generation of leaders within the company. Evelyn Porter Jenna and several other key figures became central to this initiative, ensuring that Ascendair's culture of innovation and integrity would endure. Donovan also explored the future of aviation itself. He convened a global summit of engineers, scientists, and futurists to discuss emerging technologies such as hydrogen-powered planes, autonomous flight systems, and space tourism. During his keynote address, he said, "The skies aren't the limit. They're just the beginning. The next era of aviation will take us further than we've ever imagined, and Ascendair will be at the forefront." The unforeseen test. Just as everything seemed to be aligning perfectly, a global fuel crisis struck, sending shockwaves through the aviation industry. Fuel prices skyrocketed, forcing many airlines to cancel flights, lay off employees, or significantly raise ticket prices. For Ascendair, the crisis was a make-or-break moment. Donovan had long advocated for sustainability, but now his vision was being tested under extreme conditions. Rather than react with panic, Donovan leaned into Ascendair's strengths. The company's investment in sustainable aviation fuel and hybrid aircraft proved invaluable, allowing it to maintain operations while competitors faltered. Donovan also introduced flexible pricing models, ensuring that passengers could still afford to fly. Behind the scenes, he worked tirelessly with industry leaders and policymakers to address the root causes of the crisis. His efforts culminated in a landmark agreement to accelerate the adoption of renewable energy across the aviation sector, a legacy realized. As the crisis abated, Ascendair emerged stronger than ever. The company's resilience under pressure became a case study in leadership and innovation, taught in business schools around the world. At Ascendair's annual gala, Donovan addressed a crowd of employees, investors, and partners. His voice was filled with pride and gratitude. "We started this journey because we believed in something bigger than ourselves," he said. "We believed that an airline could be more than a business. It could be a force for good. Today, we've proven that belief true." The room erupted in applause, a standing ovation that lasted for minutes. For Donovan, it was a moment of profound fulfillment, but he knew his work was far from over. The sky beyond the horizon. As Donovan looked to the future, his vision only grew bolder. He dreamed of creating an aviation network that connected even the most remote corners of the world, making air travel accessible to all. He envisioned planes powered entirely by renewable energy, flying silently through the skies. But most of all, he dreamed of leaving behind a legacy that would inspire others to dream big, act boldly, and never stop striving for a better world. For Donovan King, the journey was never about the destination. It was about the infinite possibilities that lay ahead, always ascending, always reaching for the sky beyond the horizon.